My criteria for speaking to you on Sunday mornings are three. First, that what I speak is in principle. Second, that it's relevant to our lives. And third, that it's practical. So today I want to talk about these things. Well, not specifically these things, but masks in general. And I'll tell you that this talk started bubbling in me when Barbara and I went out to lunch this past week. We hadn't been out a lot, and so we went off and had lunch and immediately noticed that only every other table had space for people. The others were all blocked off and couldn't be used, and that everybody in the place was wearing a mask, including our server, who was a rather tall gentleman, a young man, well over 6 feet tall. And he had a particularly interesting look. He had long blonde hair that was tied up on top of his head. And he had the longest eyelashes I think I've ever seen. And they were definitely with eyeliner and mascara. And then he had on a mask. I wanted to know what was under the mask. I said, "You're not giving us the whole story here." I didn't say that, but I sure did think it. And so this whole idea of masks started working on me. So I decided what I want to talk to you about today is this thing that we've all moved into, this thing of wearing masks. Any place you go, this is what people look like these days. Everybody in a mask. Now, we're wearing these masks because we're told by the experts that, well, this may not be why we're wearing the mask. We're told by the experts that we wear them so that whatever virus we have in our body isn't put out for others to get. I think most people are wearing the mask to protect themselves because most people don't have the virus. So the logic is that people are wearing it for self-protection. A defensive posture, but part of life, that people do what they can to protect themselves. And then I started thinking about the history of masks, the traditions they come from. And what I found was that masks actually originated in Western culture as a Celtic phenomenon. And they were used to ward off evil spirits. Apparently, if the evil spirits couldn't see your face, they couldn't get you. And from there, obviously, masks have been used to disguise oneself, to put on the air of something other than themselves. But interestingly, in indigenous cultures, especially in North America, masks are used in ceremonies quite a bit. But the opposite reason is used in that. They use it to express the gifts and qualities and characteristics of their life. And they want to over-animate that in their ceremonies to show who they are. And this can be from any direction. Example, a princess or just a beautifully feminine mask that someone might wear to express that. Or if you're really in a mood, maybe one like that, a monster. All kinds of masks out in the world. Now, the native people have made some beautiful masks, and I want to share some of them with you and tell you what I'm learning about these kinds of masks. This is the mask of a beaver. See the front teeth? And what I've learned is that a mask of a beaver is expressing one who carries the medicine that is industrious, and that this energy is committed to family and home. Obviously, beavers build their dams, and that is their home, and that's where they have their young, and such as that. So those characteristics are believed to be displayed by someone wearing a mask like this. And this is the mask of a frog. The frog mask expresses cleanliness. One who carries frog medicine calls the forest calls for rain, to cleanse the earth. It is also known that tears are used to cleanse the soul, and that's the medicine of the frog. This is a mask that represents an owl. The owl Wearing an owl mask expresses clairvoyance and magic. One who carries owl medicine knows about illumination. And in many cultures, the owl is a symbol of wisdom, and in others, it's actually a symbol of death. In the Cherokees, they believe that if an owl speaks to you, it's telling you of your death. Interesting. And then the mask of an eagle. Wearing an eagle mask expresses divine vision and power. One who carries eagle medicine can rise above and see beyond the mundane challenges of life. So what the native people are saying is that by wearing this mask, you're saying, these are the qualities and the gifts that I bring to life, which is really a healthy thing to do, to point out what it is that you're there to bring. Because perhaps someone wouldn't see these things in just your physical state, your face as it is. But on a mask, you can express these things in a greater sense. Now, there's other aspects that I think align with this. One comes from a movie that was around about 20 years ago. Remember that movie called The Mask with Jim Carrey? His character in that movie was a very mild-mannered, meek, very cautious, careful, soft-spoken man. But when he put on the magical mask, he became this wild guy, where he could do all kind of crazy things, and he had all this energy. He'd walk around and say, "Somebody help me." And it was an entirely different persona. And then by the end of the movie, what occurred, I hope you've seen the movie. By the end of the movie, the character realizes that he doesn't need the mask, that it really is who he is that's coming out, and finds his way to be much more present in his life, having gone through the experiences he's gone through. Which aligns with what I'm wanting to say about masks right now, is that although our culture, our Western culture, tends to lean toward the idea that you're hiding with a mask, what if it was exactly the opposite? What if in life we had a mask that really spoke to who we were? Now, I'm not suggesting, although, yes, in my experience, I've done mask-making experiences with men when I was doing men's gatherings. And we would gather and they would actually create masks. And this was a real stretch for guys to do mask making. For one reason, you needed somebody to help you with it. So what we would do is each half of the men would lay down, and then another man would be really right over their face. They would lay down on the ground, and someone would kneel behind them with plaster of Paris strips. Cast-making strips that you would use on a broken bone, and taking these strips and laying them on the man's face. Now, men don't normally touch one another's faces. You can imagine that, right? So this was a bit of a stretch for guys to do this. But the other part is that once the mask was allowed to dry and taken off of the man's face, it was his job to create a story with the mask, to decorate it and adorn it in a way that actually said something about who he was in the world. So we used this idea to create a mask. Now, I'm thinking maybe this would be a really cool thing to do someday, but obviously we're not going to do this kind of thing right now. So maybe once the pandemic is complete, we'll have a mask making. In the meantime, though, I thought it might be of some value to really talk about what the process would be to create a mask. And even though you won't be creating it today, you won't be creating it in physical form, you certainly can create an image of it that would speak to who you are. And I want you to know that will have an impact on who you are as well. So some of the things that I want to share with you relate to that process. So I think what I'd like to have you do is... No, I tell you what, before we do that, I have a couple other things that I want to share with you. Some ideas that come from some great teachers and great thinkers. And we're going to start with Charles Fillmore, the founder of Unity. He and Myrtle founded Unity. This was his statement of purpose. I fairly sizzle with a zeal and enthusiasm and spring forth with a mighty faith to do the things that ought to be done by me. That's a very descriptive statement. And there's a lot of stuff in there that it has image to it. And I would say that statement is a mask. It speaks to who he is in the world and what he brings to the world. So for the purpose of what I'm talking about today, think of that as a statement that creates a mask. And you've already seen this once today, but I bring it to you again. There's a divine indwelling spirit that will forever be within us. We do not exist without this presence, for this presence is what we are. So the divine within us is seeking to express out into our lives, whether we know it or not, but we have the advantage here of knowing that this is part of our lives, that the divine is at the point of us, and that everything that we think, say, and do can only come from that source because that's all that is. And then finally, an E.E. Cummings quote that I find incredibly fascinating. The greatest battle we face as human beings is the battle to protect our true selves from the self the world wants us to become. Now, I'm not crazy about the idea that it has to be a battle, but it's good to understand that every culture, and certainly living in the information age where you're seeing advertisements that tell you how you should be, tell you what you should wear, tell you how your hair should be, tell you what car to drive and how to live your life. All of that doesn't have to be unless you choose for it to be and do it consciously. Because there's an inner being to us that is more true, that is more real. And even though it doesn't fit that Western concept of mask, if you think about it, that trueness of who we are displayed on a mask would be very powerful and very helpful. So, to this work that I've done with men that I think will have value for us. And I know you've had your eyes closed a good bit already this morning, but I want to invite you to do that again. And if you're watching us online, I would invite you as well to just close your eyes and gently consider that you're creating a mask for yourself. And allow images to come to you, which you wouldn't have if you had your eyes open. So with your eyes closed, consider these things. Any mask begins with a foundation. The foundation of your mask is your attitude. It's the attitude you bring to the world. It's the energetic essence that you bring to your mask. So is this attitude one of confidence? Is it joy, compassion, commitment, clarity, or something else? What is the foundation of your mask? How does that show up on your mask? If this or some other idea comes to you as your foundation, what would be on the mask that would show you that? We all have an emotional state. We gravitate to a place where we're comfortable, where we feel at home with our emotions. How would you demonstrate that emotional state on your mask? Can you see it on the mask? Does it show up as a bright smile? Or multiple colors or images? Or does it show up as something else? How is your mask adorned? Beyond the surface of the mask and whatever colors or designs are on the mask, is there anything else attached to it? Is your mask adorned with anything? If being in nature is something really important to you, perhaps there's leaves or sprigs or something that connects you with nature. If there's some other element of your life that is relevant to you, important to you, how would that show up on your mask? Could be something dangling, could be something across the forehead, could be something like a beard, whatever. How would it be there? And what is the primary message that your mask is telling the world? Does it show that you're a teacher? or a builder, perhaps a healer, a friend, something else. What is the primary focus that your mask brings to the world? What is your mask showing the world about you? Your mask is not about hiding. It's about reflecting the God of your being. It's about being who you've come here to be for everyone to see. The teacher Yeshua, also known as Jesus, called us to take the bushel basket away and to shine our light brightly. Does your mask shine your light? Now imagine stepping a bit away from your mask, creating a little distance. What does your mask look like? Does it please you? Is it telling the truth about who you are? Now come back and pick the mask up and put it on your face. How does it feel? Is that really you? We bring an image to the world. And the one that is most informed by that image is us. And when we are comfortable with it, when we know what we bring and how we bring it, it gives us great direction in our lives. It is good to know who we are, and it's good to show it to the world. And if we do it with a mask, that certainly will suffice. So as you go through your day and wear this mask across your face, relating to this pandemic that we're all involved with, think about the real mask, the real you that you want to show to the world. And start preparing yourself to let that be who you are, and let that be who everyone sees. For you truly are the presence of the divine, and all is well. And I'll offer in closing a treatment, knowing the truth and the power of the one, this divine presence that is everywhere always. We have the distinct advantage of knowing that that is who we are. We have the joy of knowing that our lives are unfolding according to our design. We know how to bring the best of us to life, to be who we've come to be, and to do what we've come to do. And with that rich understanding, life continues to get more wonderful, regardless of outside conditions. All is well, because we know that God is all. And with that certainty of knowing, we simply let this be the truth, right here, right now, and always. And so it is.